live, Pierre.
Welcome back to another early edition of Hockey Nation Live Show. This is your co-host, Coach Francis Zerkley for the Sunshine State, and we have to go all the way to the West Coast to find. We have to stop in Texas,
Dallas,
and Dallas today, and to find the co-host number 2 or number 1, Michael Devillano.
How you doing, Pierre? Yesterday was pretty busy.
I'm pretty good. I'm going to leave you, Michael. I'm going to go on the Marc Bergevin press conference right now.
Oh, okay.
So I give me about 5 minutes. Just follow up with the news over there. It's confirmed Shea Weber is completely out for the season by Marc Bergevin at that moment. Matt Calvert retired as a hockey player right now.
Oh, really?
And so all the news coming very quickly. And Tyler Pitlick from the Arizona was drafted by the Kraken, just got traded to the Calgary Flames.
Really?
Yep. So all the news I'm going, so I'll be back in a few minutes. Just put me on the site. Why? Just let me there. I just put myself mute. Is that right?
No worries. Yeah. So good morning to Nicola and good morning to Adam who've joined us. According to Frank Cervelli, this is what you're talking about. They're trading Tyler Pitlick to Calgary for a mid-round draft pick. That's interesting to me. I'm not sure what the motivation behind that is. He's saying also that Giordano is not happy about being moved from Calgary to Seattle. But you would think they would have given him heads up on this, Adam. It seems kind of crazy. Like they're saying, hey, this guy could be a captain of the team. He knew he was being exposed, so I don't know where the shock is. You would think Seattle would be very competitive after what we saw yesterday. They're going to have a lot of depth, and he would be a very important player there. It's not like Calgary was doing anything. So I don't know, Adam, it's kind of a weird thing to have happen. I don't know why he would want to move to the Rangers. The Rangers, could use him for sure. They definitely would benefit from having him. I think most teams would benefit from having him, especially if Seattle retains some of that salary. So they're saying I can't see him going to the Rangers. I could see him going to the Rangers, but I don't know what. I don't know. And Driedger, yes, we saw an introduction of a number of players that we'll talk about, one of them being Chris Driedger. Chris Driedger is about 6'4". He's a big goalie. Sounds like Gourde will also be out until mid-November. So he has a sustained shoulder injury, it looks like, from the Stanley Cup Finals. So this is very unfortunate. Unfortunate. It's not a real word. Geez, Adam, thank you so much for that's an early donation. Really appreciate that. The New York Rangers management and Coach Gallant want to go after players. I'm not sure what moves they would need to make. They're very stacked. I could see them improving the D. The goaltending is very good, and the forwards are really they almost have too many good forwards. So I could see them making a move on D, but it sounds like a weird thing to me. No, thank you. We always appreciate your comments, Adam, so really appreciate it. Kimberly, good morning to you. We appreciate you joining us this morning. All right, so just to start off, let's take a look. We know yesterday that they had the official draft ceremony in Seattle on the Puget Sound where the arena is sinking into. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Sorry. This is totally the wrong presentation. I'm sorry. Helps you have the right one up. Let's try that again. It's going to be a crazy trade day today. Interesting, because I think at 1 o'clock they'll announce a bunch of deals. Good morning, Ronnie. Thank you for also joining us. All right, so I think and Frank Salazar, thank you. If anyone thinks Seattle is going to be a weak team, they got another thing coming. We all know that that's not the team that's going to be taking the ice. Well, first of all, what they have there is not weak. It's definitely salary. They're thrifty. They did not take on any crazy contracts. They absolutely made sure that all the players they have had a specific, as Coach Frenchie likes to say, the right chair. And I think some picks you can see would be transitional players that might move up to the NHL from the AHL. Others were slated for the third or fourth line. And then others are more like second line. I'm not sure how many frontline players, although Jordan Eberle obviously played on a top line with Matthew Barzal. He's played in the past with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Taylor Hall on a top line. So you could say, hey, this is a consistent 20 goal scorer and he can play with top end players, which I don't think they have out of this draft. They passed on big names like Tarasenko and James Van Riemsdyk and Ryan Johansson. But the Johansson one's an interesting case study where, Calle Jarnkrok had 13 goals last year. Like I think he outproduced Ryan Johansson. He had $6 million less in salary to carry over. So it's probably a pretty shrewd move. So I think one thing they're going to have is depth. When Yanni Gourde is, good morning, Bud the Monkey. If we look at the lineup, actually, so that's probably a good idea if we take a quick look at this. Actually, that's what I should have done this morning, is made a lineup. And maybe we can do that on the fly. Good morning. And good morning, Greg. Thank you for joining us as well. I'm just going to pull up the list of players that they picked, and then we can think about maybe where they would sit in a lineup. And I wonder if Daily Faceoff has probably already done this. Let's start maybe with that. Is Seattle on here yet? I'm kind of surprised it's not. St. Louis. Huh. Come on, Daily Faceoff. I thought you'd be ahead of me here. All right. So let's pull up the list. So we know that they picked they picked a lot of really good defensemen, and they have a lot of depth on goal. And a lot of the picks we had anticipated, the most conservative of which happened. Yanni Gourde, I think, is a guy that can play top two lines. Let's take a look. Actually, the one that I didn't get to comment on was actually, we kind of talked about whether they would pick this guy or not, and they ended up doing it, which was Cholowski from Detroit. So I thought that was an interesting pick. He played a lot better at the end of last year. I'm not convinced that is a long-term capability on his part. For sure, he's struggled defensively up to this point, but last year he at least addressed that. So I thought that was kind of an interesting pick. Let's see if we can make this easier. All right, so first off, we saw, and it sounds like he's already been traded, Tyler Pitlick. I don't know why this is doing this, but Coyotes lose Tyler Pitlick. He's just been traded to Calgary. We anticipated Jeremy Lauzon, which happened. This was a name I didn't have keyed in. I was looking constantly at Cody Eakins, but Will Borgen, this is actually probably a very shrewd pick, because he started playing at the end of last year on D, and he's actually a pretty effective D, but he's not like such an expensive salary that he's going to be a problem. Give me a sec. There we go. Actually, helps if I share my screen.
All right.
Are you back?
Yeah. Jonathan Drouin is coming back in Montreal in the training camp. Great news. And I think it would be a good asset for Montreal. And then Tarasenko is not going nowhere.
No.
From Doug Armstrong a few minutes ago said, I expect Tarasenko to be back in the training camp.
So I think Driedger has shown that he's, first of all, he's 27. You can see he's very technically sound. He's big. That's really interesting news, by the way, Pierre. Just to answer Bud. And I think that 38 games is normally a small sample size, but we saw him in the minors for 2 years. So I think you can tell a lot by that. I think he's going to be very good for them. Like, he was great for them the last 2 years. He just got better and better.
Well, the key behind that is they have a really good duo goaltender, young, 27, 25. Yeah. Vanecek showed last year with 20, 21, 10, and 6, I believe, with 8.
Yeah.
At 2.70, 908, I believe. He can be a great goaltender in NHL. Yeah. So he's going to be just better and better, because he was honestly his first year. Now, the second thing, Driedger, the only red flag on him right now is a 38 game. That's only number of the game. Yeah. Otherwise, he have a great save percentage at 9.21 and a great goal against at 2.0 something, like 9 or something like that. So he is really, really show for the 38 game he can play. So I don't think so. Now, can he get a veteran goaltender? Possible, but I don't think so. It will happen yet. Yeah, we're holding to see what happened over there. Of course, with the team they have right now, they are not going to be like, Carey Price or Vasilevsky, right? Because the team is not like they were like Florida and Washington.
For
But
sure.
still, two good tender. I think the coach would be excited about them, and I think they are all good. 3.5, another one, Michael is 700. So this give them a lot of flexibility to reach and get more UFA. I'll be honest with you, Michael, from what we heard, we don't expect too much about the movement from Seattle today. From what Ron Francis said, not what the people are thinking. So don't expect like 15 chance rate, something like that. It's going to be a low minimum. I expect a little bit more, 1 or 2 more UFA at some point.
I think they're all going to be conservative, Pierre. Like, I really think you have 2 NHL drafts that are coming up with legitimate franchise players. Just, they could just say, listen, long-term health of this is make us competitive. Maybe we're not a playoff team.
So again, I'm lost you. I don't know why, but
can you hear me now? Yeah. So what I'm saying is first of all, they've left a lot of cap space, but I wouldn't anticipate they're going to go aggressively after free agents. And I don't know if they're going to be as aggressive as Vegas was on getting big name players. If you look at how Carolina was built, and the downfall of Ron Francis was his patience. And he was very patient with bringing in prospects and building in layers. And the depth you see today in Carolina was only topped off by the new general managers that came in. Most of those assets were there. So I don't see like him going crazy and making a lot of deals. Like,
no, but what he's going to do is something of what I'm thinking, like the CA2 a UFA, right? Not like a Lester Gog at $11 million or $10 million, whatever, something like that, right? But I can see another good top 9, 2 top 9. They can score 15, 20 goals, but they have some role they can be inside that team. So I don't want to mention, because right now they don't have a lot of center number 1. Really, right now I think the best center they have right now is Yanni Gourde.
Probably, right?
So they will find a way maybe to get something back at some point. But overall, I think very conservative.
Very conservative.
Draft by the Francis with youngest most of the time. They have some surprise pick. I don't get it yet, but we're going to get those answers. I just finished a video a couple of minutes ago about the Kraken, about the roster, right? Yeah. But I did not want to mention about, because I'm going to make another 1 at 5 today, where the surprise is the deception. And then I don't know now, Michael, because we got now a chance to get the community inside the YouTube channel. So I create a pool every day. And today the pool is about, are you agree to a good or a bad, draft or selection by Ron Francis? So that's the pool. But my point is, we're going to judge more what Ron Francis did at 5 o'clock today after we hear more the transaction of some trade. Because some pick like McDavid, I'm not agree with that one over there. I think what he kept Geekie versus James Bain over there, like what Kakkonen not versus Susi over there. The one in the San Jose completely don't understand. The one in Columbus is worse about that one. So you have some answer we're going to hear we cannot pronounce yet. And someone asking me, do you think they're going to make the playoff?
I don't.
We cannot answer until we know the final roster in the next 10 days, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that legitimately you've hit on all the points that kind of come to mind, which is there's some surprise. He's very, very conservative, and we saw this in Carolina, and he never made the playoffs in Carolina.
I'll just give you an answer for Rusty. He's still $40 million right now at that moment at them. So they are 41-40 at that, what I heard this morning. Maybe less a little bit, but not 20. It's more about $35 to $40 million. Yamo, welcome back, buddy. We miss you.
Yamo.
And
I mean, Barkov's going to be better than Lundell. Lundell is more of a second line player.
Barkov by a mile.
Yeah, by a mile. So I don't know. I think that he's, there's a saying, right? we're gonna find out if Ron Francis is penny wise and pound foolish. We're gonna find out if being conservative made a lot of sense when you had access to so much talent. And if you're anticipating like
Overall, he did very good. I've been honest with you,
okay,
he did good.
it's not
Um,
bad.
he still have some move he can do, of course, right? But I
Yeah,
think he did very well. He stabilized his defensive. They are
yeah,
big, big, big over there. They are
true.
6'4" almost. They have Oleksiak, Larsson, Fleury, both of them.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think the smallest one was Giordano at that moment over there, where
True.
they are thinking to send him in Rangers this morning. So it would be interesting about
Think
that.
that's gonna happen?
So again,
You think they'll move him to the Rangers?
that's the rumor this morning. Again, Strom and another pick.
Whoa!
And yeah,
What? Why
yeah.
why wouldn't you just expose Strom in the first place? Because they wanted to swap him. I really like Ryan Strom, Pierre. If you had Ryan Strom on this team, they'd look a lot better.
But they would add more.
Yeah, for sure. But I
You know
mean,
what I
that
mean?
just that piece alone, I think, is a good addition. Is
They,
Donskoi
they
11?
honestly, when you look about this, they're only missing more the power scorer, the sniper, or a guy like 30 goals. If they can get one or two on the UFA, the team is not going to be bad at all. More
No,
what we
they'll be all right.
expect about that.
Yeah, and I don't think that again. I don't think that it's bad. I don't think it's exciting. I think that's more along the lines of it, right? It's like
Sorry about that, Yamo. You become now a hockey player. You lose your teeth.
what happened? He lost his teeth.
Goodrow is going to be announced today, I believe. It will be confirmed today. 3.6 AAV 6 year. Hyman's going to be confirmed in the next couple hours.
Hyman.
Mike Smith will know already. Taylor Hall is going to be confirmed, I believe, today also. So it'll be the big name. So at 1 o'clock, I'm ready to rock and roll that graphics. But that's confirmed. Most of what I just said to you. We just wait 1 o'clock.
So explain to me the current free agency situation because I'm getting a little confused. What happens today at 1 o'clock?
So everybody back now on the boat. So everybody can start to make trade. They can sign their RFA or sign their own UFA on their own team. That would be something happen this right now. So of course they cannot sign Hyman, but they can sign Hyman because what's happening right now, they negotiate. Because it's fun, but Michael, if you own your own players, right, you can sign him for 8 years. If you don't own that player when you go on the UFA next week, the max you can give him is 7 years. So right now, they're negotiation with Toronto, Edmonton to send a pick or players to Toronto to get the permission to get the rights on Hyman, and then he sign him today for an 8 years contract. So that's the trend right now. You cannot sign any guy, any other players on the UFA for sure. At least you have the copy, the rights. Like Goodrow can do that because he got trade last weekend to the Rangers prior to the trade they get to the Tampa Bay.
Interesting. Okay. So it's the beginning of a negotiation period, really. You can sign your own stuff and you can make other trades.
Small infection, sorry about that, Yamo. I have two things in life I don't like. Me is the pain of the toe or the teeth. I got terribly lost 8 teeth when I play hockey at 17. But this is something I don't like. I don't want. She could be the model number 1 woman in the world if she's a dancist. I don't want to see her. But I think Fleury will end back in Pittsburgh because we get Jerry Kinson. You know what? I'm not sure they will let go Fleury. I will tell you why. He become an icon in Vegas. They can afford for $7.5 million. At least they trade. And the only way what Vegas is looking is 2 position, Michael. But 3 things. They need to find out Martinez's situation on the left D is a UFA. They need to find a center because they don't have the center they need between Stone and Pacioretty. And also they need to find a sniper that can score on power play everything like that. Their power play struggle because they have no movement over there. And sometimes it can become from the point where they need to find help about that one over there, or maybe a center can snap that puck inside. I think they have the good winger. I just need someone can move the puck better. Yeah, maybe but they missed one over there. So that would be something for them to figure out about that one there. Donskoi, I think the third line setter, not very fast skater, good hands, that. I think they have like good forechecker over there. Like Danev would be a good one over there overall. They can mix, of course, the roster. The Kraken are not done yet. I think they are going to sneaky. Yeah, of course. I don't see they get a big goalie. The only thing, Rusty, you could be right about that if they trade again when they check somewhere. So I think a team looking for a good goaltender, young age, they can trade a veteran goaltender. And I'm not thinking about particular somewhere, but I think there will be something they can look about that at some place they're looking. Like example, like Nashville possible can be something like that. Pick a goaltender or something. If Jared McCann get flipped, he will be the most moving player in the last decade. Yeah. I don't think he's going nowhere. They got those players. I think it will be good. What your Russ Colton contract look like? Is a RFA right now. Is at $900,000. So it's going to be like 1.5. That's it. It's going to be still have another bridge. Michael is 24. Yeah. So it's going to be another bridge contract. Don't expect too much about that one over there. He's going to pay at the right time. So that's how he works at that age. Funny how the Fleury brother have not played together since 5 years old. Yeah, that story was a good interview this morning on the Haydn Fleury about the family, how they grow, where they play, and remember they play at Seattle. The Thunderbird, WHL. What's the nickname of Seattle?
Thunderbirds.
Yeah, so he played there. That's what he played. Before that, so about Seattle, everything like that. So the story about that one over there. Best case for this is the second line power play. Not sure about that one over there. Of course, he took advantage of 17 goals this year or 18 goals with Avalanche because he played with those kind of player and he played a couple of times on power play. But he's not bad. I think he can score 20 goals if he's on the right spot. He's going to have more times for sure. He have opportunity. But would be very interesting about that. Dave Paddington, welcome aboard. Our best friend Dave is back in the house, Dave. Michael. Remember Dave?
Absolutely. How's Dave doing?
Yeah, his daughter is Minnesota now.
Yeah, she got picked up by the University of Minnesota. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Underwhelming expansion team. It's not done yet. Yep.
Well,
we'll see what's happening.
Pierre, if this is where it lands, this is a miss on the expansion draft. You had an opportunity to add Minnesota State. Cool. And then his son, I think, got drafted as well to the OHL. You got to look at this, Pierre, and, any fan could have put this together and just been cheap. There were legitimately impact players out there. He could have grabbed a couple. And it wouldn't have been a big deal. Like to get a Tarasenko on this line, to get a Ryan Johansson would have made them.
Here what was said to you, right? At starting that way, Michael, start for the bottom. So they build the team from the bottom to the top. So what you mean by coach? He started the team from the goaltender to the defenseman. And then after that, he went to the forward. And that's how he did it. I'll be honest with you. That's what I can understand that. Because what you see this, it's really good.
It's solid.
A long-term good player. They develop very well about that. And all the names you see there, they can all play NHL.
For sure.
They don't have anyone, so you know what? He never made the NHL. He's maybe barely about that. You talk about Giordano, Larsson, Don, Lauzon, Oleksiak, I think he's in front of Lauzon. Borgen, if a second year, is a big 6'3" guy over there.
Yeah.
Fleury, both of them can become great potential over there for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And Cholowski, he have potentially, he can become a good one over there. Yeah, I think he's another 2.0 Michael Avens done over there.
Maybe. He's been weird because he's an offensive defenseman that doesn't score points, and defensively he's really, really bad. Yeah. So last year he came up at the end of the year and it was like, oh, he's pretty good defensively now.
He grow. He get
Yeah,
better to
improved.
play in the Grand Rapids. Of course, you have to give him that, right? So now, can you add one more defenseman over there? Yes, you can maybe find a number 4, Michael, there, or maybe a good, potentially great offensive players. Because Donnie, I don't think so. He can be number 2. So they can maybe add another defenseman over there as a top 4 at some point. I'll be really, really. But because Larsson and Oleksiak, they are similar.
Yeah.
Don can be the one can join with Giordano on power play, everything like that. Do it they really necessary to do that? I don't think so, because when you go back on your forward, that's what the missing piece over there. That's what they are right now, the problem.
Look,
So if you go
just
back on the forward,
pause on the defense for a second, Pierre. There's not a lot of offense here. And if they move out Giordano, you're now relying upon Vince Dunn and who to run your power play.
So that's the Giordano situation right there. Is one I believe they is an offensive players with Vince Dunn. So they got the quarterback if this scores.
One guy.
Now we have Giordano there.
But I think what they, if I'm saying if you remove Giordano from this equation, hopefully they get enough assets back.
But we'll see what they get back, right?
Right.
But I think right now Giordano fixed that solution with Vince Dunn right now for the power play about that one over there.
And then if you look at the forwards, there ain't a lot of goals on this team, is there?
No. So what you have this right now, Michael, is more like a second line and a third line.
Right.
That's what they have.
Maybe third
line.
They
don't have the first line. Other fact, like Jordan Eberle could be the one you can put on the first line, right? But if you look about that one over there, they're missing a couple of pieces. So that's what I said. Yeah, maybe piece we don't mix. We don't know yet. It's very hard to judge until the product final is going to be there. Yeah, maybe already talk with maybe 1 or 2. And I'm surprised because if it was already signed, example like a center as a UFA, they would put right now. They will not wait at 1 o'clock to do that. So some product is not done deal. Now there may be some deal with Columbus, example, get Max Domi, and they get a trade back with 1 player and a pick. We don't know yet, right? So will it be? That's what I expect before I judge them until what because I think Moment is missing a center number 1, missing a good left wing over there for sure, right? And then after that, we'll see what happens.
Here, I was saying, sorry, if Yanni Gourde is out until November, then you've got another problem, right? So it's going to be interesting. He's going to have to make other moves. I feel a little bit like weird about this because there were good players available in this draft, and you could have filled in some of those spots. So unless I'm hoping that he is not conservative to the point of missing the boat. And they, the other strategy might be fans will be tolerant of missing the playoffs this year. Let's stay in the Shane Wright sweepstakes because that's a franchise player that's coming up in a year. And a year after that is Connor Bedard. And it wouldn't be unreasonable to say, look, let's be competitive. Let's, realize that there's game-changing players out there we would skip over, which Vegas did. And Vegas even dumped all their younger players. And I just think maybe Ron Francis is not that type of a wheeler dealer that George McPhee is. So expecting him to do what George McPhee is not realistic because they're just totally different people the way they operate. I love the Kraken jerseys too. I do too. I think they've done a great job in this. I really like the name.
Yeah, the question at the top is, what do you think about the jersey? Love them, Frank Zalazar. Rumor is from Rusty, the Lestagog and Tarasenko are going to the Islanders. I'm not sure, Irene. Now, I would not give up yet on Colorado. The rumor from Elliot Feldman was said they negotiate for a contract under $60 million. So how long he can be at 60 is about 8 years at $7.5 million example. So I think if we can get him at 7.5 or lower, that would be a good deal. And you can give him an 8 year for the, sometimes you pay a veteran, so a player been there for Michael for the beginning as a captain, you give him an extra year or something like that. So I expect about that one over there. I think if they can have an agreement, both of them. But again, I think Joe Sakic have a full hands right now with McCarr and Gourde before he get a little bit more with Lestagag.
That's the thing. Like suddenly, Colorado has a lot of balls in the air, and we're hearing rumors of everyone from New York to St. Louis going after Landeskog. So it'll be interesting to see if Landeskog just goes, you know what, just going to take my chances. Like me on the New York Islanders, taking Jordan Eberle's money is a pretty good idea. I think that Dave has an interesting comment, which is this is your father's expansion team. Like Pierre, the whole point of having a rich expansion draft, like the rules were very much in their favor, was not to have a below average team. And right now, like if you consider Ottawa let's say an up and coming but not one of the better teams in the NHL, this team is nowhere near Ottawa.
But here's the point here. Like, what it would be the point to have Van Rysmik, GVR, Hohenson, and you carry on now 6 years with dead money where the players are already 32, 33. So how you build a team is from the bottom. At the bottom is I would prospect a young kids. And that's what he get that road over there. I think for me, he did very good job for what he did. He did not give any crap contract other GM gave to players. And they suffer and they cannot do anything. Number one, Nashville. Number two, San Jose. Right? And then Islanders with a 2 contract. They just mentioned about that. But I can go. Why the Flyers put Voracek over there with GVR? Because they need money to sign better players.
Yeah, and I would never pick GVR.
So, Francis, why he did not touch Price? Because he know right now he had no chance to win the Stanley Cup today.
No,
like before, whatever he take Price and Voracek and Owenson, he had no chance to win the Stanley Cup. So he's going to suffer year number 3, 4, 5, and 6 with players have nothing to give anymore. So what he did, he reversed. Re-energize reverse the wave. So you know what? I'm going with players with low contract, and then I'm going to build a piece what I'm missing at some point, and then he'll be open up. He's going to build for the foundation. What's the foundation, Michael? You know that is a prospect. You have the second best players coming right now. Can he play in the NHL right now? Maybe not. But he can be there in 2 years or 3 years. And then he's going to get another great pick, and then he's going to get another one next season. And I think that's a good time. And then you have Michael, remember everybody.
This is not a great draft. I'm sorry. There's no way. Like, even I like Morgan Geekie, but you passed up on
Michael. Remember,
2017 who are more than capable of being better. Even if they're tradable assets, Pierre, there's a better way to do this.
Not allowed. I would tell you what. Who said William Carlson's go to 40 goal when he scored 7 goals with San Jose?
So who's the William Karlsson? It's the only guy that can be that is Jared McCann or Yanni Gourde. He was going to get that anyway.
Morgan Geekie can score 20 goals.
Well, I don't disagree with that, Pierre, because I like Morgan, and I've talked about him for a long time, and his brother coming up is probably even better.
Now, is it better? My question would not be about him. Is it better to recruit Jake Bean, or Morgan? That would be my question. Now,
that's what I said.
Now, can Carolina? No, yet, Michael. And Carolina gave a second-round pick to not touch Jake Bean, and he said, "You know what? Get Morgan."
Well, that's my point. Like, just looking at Carolina alone, I like Morgan. However, there was Jake Bean available.
Nino Render, he scored 20 goals.
Yeah, or 30, depending on which year it is.
I know that, but of course.
It's like every other year he scores, but even at $5 million, that's a reasonable risk to take. Even Tarasenko, like to get a Tarasenko, and then if you can, clean that deal up and trade him, you're going to get more assets than you would by getting. I mean, Vince Dunn makes sense if they're committed to him long term. Watching Vince Dunn, he's got some problems in his game. He's not a number 1 pairing defenseman. He's capable of playing on a second power play. 5-on-5, he makes a lot of mistakes and turnovers. So you got to worry about that a little bit. But I think it's not a horrible pick. But, you could have taken 1 or 2 chances, Pierre. That would have helped them a lot. Now he's got to trade to figure it out. Or he's got to wait. And I just think this has been the downfall in the past of him. He's just a little too conservative.
But again, we don't know until what could happen in the next couple of days.
Yeah, you've got to wait.
Hours, every time that, right? I think overall for me, He did good job. And he does, you know what I mean? And listen, the story with Vegas, Michael, is different. It is really different for Vegas because they produce right away. How many expansion draft did what Vegas did?
They could have done that with this team.
Who?
They for sure. If you look back at who Vegas had out of that, it's not like he parlayed those assets into deals and draft picks. And then
give me 3 names you think they will make the playoff all the way and they will be a good team in the next 5 years.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that they could have brought in a Tarasenko and they could have brought in Johansson, and that would have definitely, on top of these players, it wouldn't have taken any of these.
So what do you do with Oleksiak for the next 5 years after that?
He's only 28, Pierre. He's been to the Stanley Cup final.
What he does for the last 2 years, if he was really good, why he don't make 70 points per year?
No, for sure, he's overpaid.
You carry on at $8.25 million.
I understand the math, but what I've said is he's still a much better player than Kalle Järnkrok. And if he's at $5 million, where you retain salary, he's a more tradable asset. He's not old. He's right in the prime.
Why they don't trade? Why nobody want to get? He's on
the contract is ridiculous.
But that's the point. So why Ron Francis going to get that contract?
Because they have all the money in the world.
Yeah, but it's not because you have a lot of money you want to win, Michael.
I think they missed the boat on this a lot. I mean, they've got the guys that were obvious, but they definitely could have picked up some guys that would have helped them a lot better.
But again, you're dead with money. The only one I will say to you, because you have only one more year, is GVR. 7.5. He's done after that. That would be the only one over there. And the reason they got that kids over there is because you have something behind this we don't know yet.
Anybody could have done this. Like I could have done this not being an astute general manager.
I don't think so. I think
just meeting a budget.
You have something behind that. You have something we don't know yet. And I think he did overall a good job. He did not want, like anybody else right now, to tie his hands with contract crazy. What he would take all the bad deal from other GM did for him to prove.
Yeah, I'm not saying all of them, but I think in this I would have taken 1 or 2 risks that would have significantly improved the team for the short term. And right now I don't see them making the playoffs with this group. They obviously would have to make some significant moves, and I'm not sure they're available to them.
Right now, I think they will be surprised with what they're going to get today. This team's going to make the playoff.
Yeah, I definitely don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, if you look at LA, LA is much better than this team. Even San Jose might be better than this team.
Yeah, because now you're going to see this, but they get today 2 players you don't know yet, and now they become
they have to do that. Like if they flip Giordano and they pick up Ryan Strome, I think that immediately helps them because Ryan Strome can play top 2 lines. He's a great defensive player, and then a defenseman of some sort. I can get
if
that.
they trade Giordano, they get Ryan Strome, Tony DeAngelo, and a second-round pick.
Tony DeAngelo is not playing in Seattle, man.
I don't know. I'm just to give you a type of player like him over there. Or maybe have another trade somewhere to get a really solid defenseman, number 1.
Yeah, they need something.
Become that part. We don't know yet.
Should be Giordano, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a work in progress. They didn't walk out of this with like, wow, that's a really good group. And I bet you if we look back, Pierre, at Vegas, before he made all those moves, you might have said the same thing about Vegas.
Well, if you look, the roster at Vegas compared to what we have right now is worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking back to. I'm like, maybe it was the same situation.
The only thing is good over there Vegas was Fleury in the net.
He had Fleury in the net.
Carlson,
I don't think there's any problem in that.
Carlson at that time, Michael, was not a star.
No, he wasn't young. He was nothing.
It was just a good year.
No, nobody knew this. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Greg, by the way, and Canadian boy, a frostbitten Canadian boy. I think it's definitely. I'll be really surprised based upon his history that Ron Francis makes significant moves. He's just shown us the same hand he showed in Carolina, which is he's going to be patient and conservative with money.
And that pay off look like.
Not with him. He lost his job, Pierre. He never made the playoffs. They played off for somebody, which was the guy that came in and got like the other pieces. Like you had the guy from Atlanta. What's it? Don Waddell comes in, and he makes a couple aggressive moves, and this team's suddenly really good. And that's what I worry about. Like, how many years does it take for someone to capitalize on this, and can he have that killer stroke? Is Liam Neeson going to be there the first game and say, release the Kraken? I sure hope so, Rusty. It wouldn't be out of the realm, because what we should look up is how many Jerry Bruckheimer movies has Liam Neeson been in? Because I'm sure Jerry Bruckheimer could bring in Liam Neeson for that. So I don't think that all their problems are solved. I think we're in agreement on that. I would have probably taken 1 or 2 chances on a couple guys that had big names and could contribute big on the ice. But now he's going to have a blank canvas a little bit. He's got a bit of a scaffolding, right? None of these guys are first line players. Even on the D, you'd be really stretching. I like the goaltending. The depth is there. And maybe they're more like an Islanders team. But again, the Islanders look at, they still have some impact players there. So, and, where does Matt Benner fit in this? I think Matt Benner's a second line player. I don't see him as a first line player. He's like a Dylan Larkin type centerman. So I don't know how that helps them. And I'm not sure any of the D men available at 2 are like superstars. They'd really have to say, oh, well, hey, William Eklund's going to be a star. We're going to grab him. But that's a risk, right? Like, he might be a second line player too. He's smaller. He's going to have, there's lots of questions. I think that the answer for me would be, if you're doing this and you're saying, hey, we're going to be patient, you go after Shane Wright in a year, but that's no guarantee. Like, there's no guarantee you're going to get a Shane Wright or a Connor Bedard that would change your franchise, Oh, well, it'll be fine. The fans will support him no matter what, Pierre, and they'll figure it out. But he definitely didn't answer all the questions yesterday. Pierre, what do you think of the upcoming draft overall? Where have you landed on that, the NHL draft?
Well, the key is the same page we mention all the time, is because the nobody watched the players. Many of them never play or did not play a lot last season. So it's going to be, and also it's a very different because you have a lot of old players versus the youngest over there. That's number 2. But this is going to be a rock and roll. We're going to do live this one. You're going to say, okay, what's the next pick? And you're going to put on the board the next supposed to be a good one. Example would be like, I don't know, like I was said, like Ken Johnson, number 10 example. And then boom, they're going to pick RT Ratu, where he was not supposed to be 21.
Adirati? Oh my God. I think Adirati might drop out of the first.
So you're going to see surprise like that all night long, Friday night, where you expect like 1 to 10, and then you're going to get a 17, a 19, a 24, pick up lower at what their expectation was. Because many teams did not see every players, obviously.
Yep, you're right. So right now, if you were to pick, and we're going to redo this a bunch of times, who is your first pick to Buffalo?
I'm not sure yet. It's going to be Owen Power for what the people said.
Do you agree with that?
I think there will be Power is going to be number 1 over there for the Buffalo Sabres.
And then that leaves us to our fabled Seattle Kraken. Lots of talk about Benner. Lots of defensemen available. There's also William Eklund, and I know you've talked about Eklund. Who is your kind of final pick? Do you think it's second right now, or who are you kind of leaning towards?
But you have to evaluate everything, and then it depends what they are looking for. But you talk about Bernier as a 2-forward, two-way players, a really good skater, good hands. But I really believe he become a little bit a good. I don't say Yannick Gourde, but I try to find a place where I can mention him. He's going to scoring 20, 25 goals in NHL, but he's going to be a great center, back and forth, forecheck, back check. Bernier will be here. Now, if you think about skill, you talk about a scorer, you talk about finesse, you talk about that's the Sweden players, William Eglund over there. For what they built their team yesterday from Ron Francis, and we know Francis, I believe he's going with Matt Bernier. Honestly, I would not be surprised whatsoever. I will maybe keep. He will not take a defenseman because he's really solid on defenseman right now. So, the way he drafted yesterday gave a chance for him to take forward Bernier. On the flip side, England could be a good spot for him for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Benners is a perfect second overall pick, but he's going to be a good NHL player. Like, he's a little bit older, so he's probably closer to the NHL. I think, again, my comparable seems to be Dylan Larkin. He may or may not have more skill than Larkin. He's similar speed and motor. Dylan Larkin's not a first-line center, in my opinion. But I don't know if there's a first-line center in this draft.
I don't think so. I think, you don't look that way. I don't think you have to look about more
Like
than
who's
the
available,
potential,
who's
what
the
they are and they're going to be. Everything on that way, it's hard to say someone could be second line or second top six, everything on that. For me, it's more about he's really the best forward overall on both ways right now. It's really, you can pick up him, no problem.
Oh, there will be a Kraken, Jen. Don't worry. All right, so I think they'll probably pick him at this point, and then it gets murkier after this because they have a whole bunch of choices. If you're the Anaheim Ducks, you've got a bunch of defensemen, you've got a bunch of forwards, you got Eklund and Gunther, you've got Brant Clark.
Anaheim is going to be this way. It's going to be one thing. It's going to be William Eglund if he go forward, and it's going to be a Gwender defenseman.
Who's the defenseman?
Is it that Dylan Gwender?
Oh, Dylan Gunther's a forward. He's a right winger in Edmonton.
Yeah, you're right. It's Edmonton, but it's not him. So what's the next one about?
Simon Edvinsson.
I think, one is going to be lower and lower. It's him. At some point, his stock market was very high, and he dropped a lot for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Can Anaheim pick up McDavish over there?
McTavish? They could.
McDavish? Possible. But I think because William Eglund is open at that moment, I think they should pick him before McDavish. I believe on that one over there. So I think at some point I will give them William Eglund.
So I think that Ryan Getzlab's contract is up, and he was their longtime captain. The player that is the closest to Ryan Getzlab, they already have Trevor Zegras in the system, and they don't have anyone like Ryan Getzlab. And even he's not the Ryan Getzlab of old, but I think they really missed that element. I have a feeling they're going to go for Mason McTavish. So I'm going to just put in McTavish. His stock has been rising. I was impressed with how he plays. He's a big centerman. He can make very well. He can score goals, and he's tough as nails, Pierre. So I think they're going to surprise people and maybe go for McTavish. All right, then we come to the New Jersey Devils. In your world, do you think that they go for Jack Hughes' brother, Luke Hughes, or do they pick another player?
Go with Hughes.
Hughes. I think that they won't pass him up either. So I would suggest that Luke Hughes goes here. All right, now the much beleaguered Columbus Blue Jackets. They need everything here. They what?
They need everybody there.
I know. It's so bad. It's
at that moment, that's when I'm going to get McDavish over there.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
That's the prototype the player they are.
I'm going to go with Gunther. I do think they might go D because they're probably going to lose Seth Jones. But if it's me, I can't pass up Dylan Gunther. He's too much of a pure goal scorer. I think he's just probably the best goal scorer in the draft. Unless you count Chaz Lucius, who's, I think, unfairly dropped. If I'm a team, I'm looking at Chaz Lucius after the 5th, and I'm like, oh my God, I got a top 5 pick. Because he's got an NHL shot, he can really play make, and he's got a good physicality. He's a great skater. So I think the only thing against him is he was hurt for a lot of the year. But a lot of these players, we haven't even seen, Pierre. Like, a lot of these players didn't even play in this country. Like, they had to go to other countries.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think that's a mistake. All right, now comes to the beleaguered, my beloved Detroit Red Wings. Given what you have left, given all the needs they have and the other prospects, who do you think they go for here? You've already got Eklund off the board.
It's just hard to make a goaltender over there, but I think they should get a goaltender. But because it's 6, they won, so they will go with Edmondson over there.
That's a good call. I personally would go with Wallstead. The problem with this to me is on my board, Eklund is still available. And I don't think in reality they would pass on Eklund. I think they see Eklund as a better Lucas Raymond, maybe. So I think that they see him as being able to play center, and he's more, well, I mean, Lucas Raymond is really a dynamic player who can forecheck, and he's the same plus a little bit. But in my book, I really want a goaltender like an Andrei Vasilevsky in the system. Well, maybe they'll throw a, I don't know how they should not throw an octopus on the ice. It makes a mess, Adam. Why didn't the Kraken take Tarasenko, Pierre?
The injury.
Do you think that was it? They just didn't want to deal with the shoulder?
$7.5 million.
Yeah, which for them shouldn't be too much. I mean, they're going to have to find that, but it seems to, I'm sure it played a factor into it. His age, the injury, but this is a proven player. It is a risk. He hasn't played very many games the last 2 years, so that's kind of a concern.
Think about this. How guarantee you're going to score 30 goals?
You don't know. Oh, how do you guarantee?
Spend $7.5 million on this players when you can get another player somewhere at $4 million, $5 million, he can score 20 goals. Guaranteed by the way he played the last 5 years, example.
So, Rusty, Seattle fans are enthusiastic for Seattle. So they'll be loud. It's going to be a loud thing, but there's always something weird about Seattle. I don't know. They have the best fans when it comes to sports. I can't really disagree in the sense they really support the football and soccer teams. They really want the basketball team.
They are. Yeah, you have to give credit. They are good, great, and they are support. They
Pierre,
support their team. Whatever they are, bad or good, they support their team. For me, it's qualified good fans about that one there. They're not like crappy about their teammate on that. You can see yesterday, and you're going to see right now. This is like, and you know what? How many town and or any sport town, they have 2, 3, 4 team and they support like Seattle does.
Thanks for joining us, Miles, and thanks for your question. Coach, do you think it'll be like the Knights and how they became good from the start? The Seattle Kraken.
But again, like any
we have to wait and see,
I think we're going to see a little bit more afternoon what they did. In the next 65 minutes, you're going to see what kind of trade they did, everything they accomplished. And then from there, what's going to happen in the 28? Because right now, after 1 o'clock, Michael, they cannot negotiate with any UFA.
Right.
So it would be interesting what they're going to do UFA about that tournament. Maybe they have another players they can mention right now. You know, they have maybe signed another UFA. We don't know yet. Right?
I mean, Pierre, if you're a UFA and you look at this lineup, are you excited about going to Seattle? Because you had to have to be a significant difference maker to get that team in the playoffs. They just have too many holes. Like offensively, it's a problem. You can't get in the playoffs unless your team scores 220, 230 goals. That's the minimum. And that team might score 200 goals. It's kind of a problem. It's kind of rough. That's the only reason I would say take risks on some guys like Niederreiter and maybe a Johansson and maybe a Tarasenko. If you had those 3 guys, then you got a top line. It's not your favorite top line, but at least they'd probably get like between the 3 of them, 70, 80 goals. And that's what you need for a first line. All right. So given who's left over for San Jose, McTavish is off the board. I think that would be a perfect pick for them.
I just want to mention something happening right now. Buffalo, she's going to trade Jake Eichel to Anaheim and return of Tristel, their number 3rd round pick right now, and 2 other prospect, but not Zegras as a prospect.
Really?
Yep.
Well, Drysdale we saw in the NHL last year, he's very good. I don't know why you would want Drysdale. You already have Dahlin. You've already got some other pieces. He's a right shot defenseman. I think, though, is Dahlin's a left?
Dallin is the left.
Yeah. So maybe that's why. I mean, I think they're getting a very good player there. And then at the third pick, they could get a reasonable player like a McTavish or someone that would impact their lineup. So is that the rumor, or do you think that's actually going to happen?
That's the rumor right now.
I mean, if I'm Buffalo, I'm not doing that deal without Zegras. And if I'm Anaheim, I'm not moving Zegras. So it's kind of a tough spot. But not even the Vegas is good. They had a good team at the start. They did, Jen, but I think we've highlighted, like, I bet you if we look back at the players they picked out of their expansion draft, it wasn't obvious they were going to be really good. What happened was George McPhee was very, very aggressive, which I don't necessarily see Ron Francis doing. George McPhee was aggressive in getting draft picks and cutting side deals and then using those to get guys like Mark Stone. They got Max Pacioretty. Like, they got players that could top them up, and now Alex Pietrangelo. And then that's how they were really competitive. Can they get to the next stage? They don't seem willing to do what it takes to do that, which would be to change up their style a little bit or add some more skilled guys. They seem to want to stick to, a very north-south style. But we have one team for each sport. How could they not? Imagine New York, Texas, California, Florida just had one team for each sport. How loud it would be. Well, Rusty, first of all, I mean, I've lived in Seattle. It's not my favorite place. I lived there for a long time, but it's the only Major League Soccer team that gets 50 to 60,000 fans for some games, and they're loud. And then the football games are super loud. Even on hard times, those stadiums are packed and the fans are super loud. The baseball team is terrible for years, and they're still supporting that team. So, and there's like rallies still for the Supersonics. They want the Supersonics to come back. So I think it is a very good sports town. It's a weird place for sure, and people are a little different, and the social interaction's odd. However, from a sports point of view, they will get great fan support. They support the WHL teams in Seattle and in Everett, and we see throughout the state. So it's not next to Portland, but it's close enough.
And I'm trying to think, Craig, if we do, the good news is we don't have a refresh until October. So if we do need
Portland is definitely north. South. It's Seattle is right on the Canadian border near British Columbia. It's like not right on, but it's about an hour and 40 to 2 hours, depending on how you drive. The tragedy of October 1st. This team rallied around the city, and the city rallied around the players from the start. I'm not sure which.
No, Eric, just give you an idea about that. Sometimes we judge people like a GM without knowing, but do you trade Suzuki for Jack Eichel?
I don't know.
Do you trade your Romanov with Jack Eichel, or do you trade Cole Caulfield for Jack Eichel, and now you have another $10 million carry on for the next 8 years, 7 years?
For Montreal, you mean?
Yeah.
I have a really hard time trading Suzuki. I mean, the guy's already a point a game.
Why? But you have to give him something in return.
Right. That's why I'm like,
why would you ask? He's not going to ask Gallagher.
Yeah.
They're going to give you the best. Right. They will request for you right now, Caulfield or Suzuki.
Yeah. And I say you don't trade either of those, because you've already got one guy that's a point a game, and you can see the other guy is going to be a lights out star. So I think in Montreal's case, you'd be patient with those two guys. If you can get Eichel for any other pieces, you think about it. But I don't like Eichel on your roster. Just not the salary cap, and the personality is not like.
And how many Jack Eichel? How do you feel about his injury?
It's legit. It's a problem, right? That's a big
why Tarasenko was not picked? Why should we put Tarasenko on the exposed?
For sure.
Sometimes you have to go a little bit deeper about that one over there, and you have to find a way. It's not easy. It's capitalized. If Jack Eichel get $10 million, how much your other players around him going to get after that?
The state isn't split. The whole state supports, but the state is very tiny. Rusty, it's super small. There's not that many people there. There's not even 1 million people in Seattle, really. How many games will it take before Eichel complains about his neck? Well, I think Pierre's bringing up a legitimate issue with his neck. I mean, that's when they're talking like these surgery alternatives. It's no joke, man. If it takes surgery to fix this, that's super scary.
Yeah, when you trade like for 4 or 5 players for one, you have to be sure the guy was going to give you the top best 5 players in NHL. And at that moment, I don't see it. Then you trade a guy who scored only 2 goals last season and 25 games.
Eichel is an elite talent, absolutely. Eichel's 6'3". He's got all the skills of Austin Matthews. He might, today you might pick Austin Matthews ahead of him if they were in the same draft. They are the same age, but Austin's birthday was late. So you could compare McDavid to Matthews and Eichel very realistically. They're all the same birth year. For me, Eichel has always had to talk that he's an odd personality on a team, and he kind of does his own thing, and he doesn't really rally guys around him. And first of all, he's been the captain in Buffalo. They've made aggressive moves. If you're complaining about Buffalo, you're kind of the center of that. So I really just question, you put him under the spotlight of another city, like a Montreal, I think he would not be a good fit there.
What Montreal is looking right now, guys, it's easy. David Savard, Beauvillier, Garland, Zorak, and Arizona. So that's what they're looking for.
Yep, I agree. All right, Pierre, let's do a speed round here. Who would you pick if you're San Jose, and I'll pick mine? You've still got Clark. You've still got Edmondson.
At that moment, now I'm going with the kids from Edmonton.
Gunther, yeah, I think that's a great pick.
Yep.
In my case, this one gets a little murkier, but I think they go Clark. I don't know, they need forwards too, though, because they've already moved off the board McTavish and Gunther. They could go off the board and go Kent Johnson, but I think it's going to be too hard to pass up Brandt Clark at this point. If the LA Kings, what do you think?
You got it. It was Clark.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's a really good fit. I think there's a consistency between his game and Drew Doughty's. I am missing a really important player here, which is Eklund.
Yep.
All right, so we still got Edmondson, Lucius, Sillinger.
That's why he's coming now, Mike Sillinger.
Sillinger? So Cole Sillinger.
Yep. Oh, no. Lucic, I'm sorry.
Lucius?
Chad, yeah.
I think they're going to go Edmondson in my case. Did you already pick Edmondson?
No. And then I'm going with the goaltender, but I'm going with Casa.
Oh, wow, ahead of Wallstead.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's off the board. I think it's going to be tough for these guys to, it's a good point. They could go for a goaltender in Casa. I'm trying to think, would they take him over a Chad Lucius?
I can answer you and not say you're not right. You're not wrong about this, Michael. But if you look at Ottawa, they are really solid right now. Or they have a lot of prospect on forward and defensemen. They are really they have, of course, another defenseman could solidify what they already have.
They don't need D, though.
I think they have already Sanderson, and then the young kids, Brandstorm, and then the one
I agree with you.
The second name, I don't know what's the double name. What's the double? What?
So they have Brandstrom, Bernard Docker.
But here we go, that
Jake
one.
Sanderson.
Right? And then the forward, they have a lot of bunch prospect up over there.
Who do they have that's like Chaz Lucius? I'm trying to think. But
so for me, I would say because they don't have anything in the goaltender, and attack, the fact is going to take him 2-3 years, and the Murray will be out, and then the goaltender there. I think the 10 position for Ottawa, that would be a good moment for that time to pick a goaltender.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good call. I'm going to put in brackets the guys that we have remaining. We can leave them for tomorrow. It's interesting. You already picked Edmondson. Are we missing a D that's important? I can't remember. Oh, Sillinger is another guy.
I agree with him. He's going to be, I don't say he's the best player right now, McDavid, but he will become better to Crosby overall at the end.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. All right, excellent picks, Pierre. It'll be exciting to see. We can try it again tomorrow.
I'm working on that one today. About that one today, I'm working on Kraken right now. I think we get a lot of good view. I don't know why reason, but we hit 1,200 viewers, so I don't know why.
I'll tell you by messenger.
So YouTube is strange sometimes.
All right, Pierre. Anything else we want to wrap up with?
No, that's good. Nothing else right now. Be careful, but be careful. Be ready. 1 o'clock is going to be a big thing about that. I tried to give you more information, but that's what we have right now. Nothing else. Look like everybody. But the big question about Michael, I finished this. Did you like what Cervelli did yesterday, or they should not do this, what he did?
What did he do?
Like he gave all the name. He was 30-30.
I'm not familiar with what happened. What happened?
But he gave all the name before.
Oh, Saravelli.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a lot of the steam out of it, but it brought him attention. But I feel like for the fans, it was kind of, I don't know. Seattle fans may or may not know those players. But for us, definitely I think for us, it took a little bit of steam out. I don't know if everybody's following Frank Saravelli. It was kind of anticlimactic, right? It could have been a lot more exciting.
As a reporter, Michael, that's your job, right?
For sure.
So,
but for us, I almost wish I didn't see it.
Well, of course, tomorrow, like last night. Imagine we have a good people, good crowd last night, right? And everybody know if it happened with Carey Price. Imagine that part over there. What is now the selection is Montreal Canadiens is everybody freaking out, right? But we have no freaking out last night. Good shot, good people. We did pretty good overall, but not, it was fun to see all those people back. Yesterday, we got a lot of people we don't see, but because it was an NHL night, I think we're going to see a couple of things like that Sunday, Friday, but it will be interesting.
Oh, yeah, I just did the create.
Sorry, I got to jump on another call, Pierre.
All right, sound good. Have an amazing, great Thursday. I will see you tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Time.